Grey dawn spreading across empty grasslands, thin frost clinging to wild stems. Far ridges fading into haze, silent crows cutting the horizon. The plain waits without movement. Tall poles rising from open earth, paper shades hanging in rows, flat stones circling fire pits, long banners resting in dust. A keeper straightens the lantern strings carefully. Travelers stand beside the markers. Someone watches the northern hills. Nobody disturbs the hush. Stay beneath these skies, forget the crowded valleys. The silence feels wider near grass and distance. A bleak lantern field stretched toward ridges. Cool air drifts through pathways. Dry flowers gather by posts. Pale clouds move slowly. One traveler paints the horizon patiently. One child follows paper ribbons. Somebody waits near the stone ring, watching shadows lengthen. Amber reflections spread across the lantern glass. Slow wind passes through banners. Everything feels suspended here. Everything feels quietly endless. Tiny seeds rest on earth. White feathers drift through grass. Even distant sounds soften gently across the empty field. Ash beside stones, ropes near poles, leaves on soil, mist over plains. A baker warms oat bread, dark bowls line the cloth, soft fabric moves lightly. Dry herbs rest nearby. One musician tunes a dulcimer. One elder studies the clouds. Someone writes brief lines near the lantern posts. Above the plain, the sky turns muted bronze. Walk through quiet grassland where the move beside resting lanterns. Some places hide wonder inside silence and space. Dry earth and cedar scent, golden reflections across glass. Everything turns cinematic inside. Plain afternoons, maybe open lands keep peace. Maybe distance protects thoughts. Maybe people become lighter, far from crowded paths. Every pole keeps shadows. Every trail keeps footsteps. Some visitors seek horizons. Some seek stillness. Still the wind keeps wandering. Still the lanterns keep swaying. Soft light leaves the grassland. Bird calls fade near ridges. Blue shade reaches the poles. Stars appear above the field. The banners become still. The pathways lose their glow. Day leaves the plain toward the distant horizon. Carry these silent hours carefully. Carry the wind and dust. Carry every every blurred reflection, carry every quiet thought. Leave the lantern standing softly, leave the field resting gently, leave the plane breathing slowly toward another pale sunrise. The final crow leaves the sky, moonlight settles on the grass, only the lanterns remain glowing under the ashen eclipse. Cold light touching the waterline, steep walls rising from the sea. Sea mist climbing the cliffs, black gulls crossing the inlet. The fjord opens beneath gray skies. Wood pier stretching over dark water, fishing crates beside boathouses, coiled ropes resting on posts, salt spray covering planks. A sailor repairs the sailcloth carefully, travelers gather by the harbor. Someone studies the tide marks, nobody speaks too loudly. Stay beside these waters, forget the southern roads. The world feels colder near cliffs and waves. Scarlet signal mills stand on headlands, cool wind sweeps the shoreline. Heather covers rocky slopes, cloud bands drift slowly. One traveler paints the fjord patiently, one child follows seabirds. Somebody waits near the overlook, watching boats move outward. Steel reflections spread through channels, low surf rolls beneath cliffs. Everything feels distant here, everything feels quietly strong. Tiny flowers grow by stone, white foam gathers on rock. Even distant sounds travel farther across the open inlet. Shells beside ropes, lanterns near sheds, pebbles on planks, mist over water. A baker cools rye bread, tin cups line the counter, wool cloth hangs nearby, fresh herbs dry slowly. One musician tunes an accordion, one elder watches the sea. Someone writes short notes near the dock rail above the fjord. The clouds turn silver blue, walk through quiet coastal weather, move beside resting mills. Some places hide wonder inside waves and stone. Salt air and cedar smoke, gray reflections across water. Everything turns cinematic inside fjord mornings. Maybe oceans keep stories, maybe cliffs preserve silence, maybe people breathe deeper far from crowded ports. Every pier keeps journeys, every cove keeps echoes. Some visitors seek distance, some seek calm. Still the tide keeps moving, still the gulls keep circling. Pale light leaves the shoreline, bird calls fade near cliffs. Blue shade covers the harbor. Stars appear above the inlet. The boats become still. The piers lose their glow. Day leaves the fjord toward the northern sea. Carry these cold hours carefully. Carry the mist and waves. Carry every blurred reflection. Carry every quiet thought. Leave the mill standing softly. Leave the harbor resting gently. Leave the fjord breathing slowly toward another pale dawn. The final gully's the cliff. Moonlight settles on the inlet. Only the tide remains moving above the quiet fjord. Above the quiet fjord. Lavender mist covering quiet terraces. Stone paths winding through hedges. Tiny fountains holding morning light. Finches crossing the pale sky. The gardens awaken slowly. Marble benches beneath cypress trees. Glass lanterns hanging from arches. Flower baskets beside steps. Old walls wrapped in ivy. A gardener trims the hedges carefully. Visitors wander through the paths. Someone watches the fountain. Nobody breaks the stillness. Stay within these gardens. Forget the distant harbors. The air feels gentler near flowers and stone. Violet beacon gardens rise on hills. Cool breeze crosses the terraces. Wild roses climb the railings. Soft clouds drift overhead. One traveler paints the pathways patiently. One child follows butterflies. Somebody rests near the fountain, watching petals move slowly. Golden reflections spread through water. Low bells drift across hedges. Everything feels peaceful here. Everything feels quietly bright. Small ferns grow by walls. White petals gather on stone. Even distant sounds arrive softly across the sleeping garden. Seats near baskets. Lanterns beside arches. Leaves on paths. Mist over flowers. A baker cools sweet bread. Blue cups line the shelf, and curtains move gently. Fresh herbs rest nearby. One musician tunes a harp. One elder studies the roses. Someone writes brief verses near the marble fountain. Above the terraces, the sky voices hide wonder inside petals and silence. Fresh blooms and cedar scent, silver reflections across water. Everything turns cinematic inside garden mornings. Maybe flowers keep memories, maybe gardens protect calm, maybe people find softness far from crowded places. Every path keeps footsteps, every arch keeps echoes. Some visitors seek beauty, some seek rest. Still the breeze keeps moving, still the petals keep falling. Golden light leaves the terraces, bird calls fade near hedges. Blue shade covers the path, stars appear above cypress trees. The fountains become quieter, the lanterns lose their glow. Day leaves the gardens toward the distant hills. Carry these gentle hours carefully, carry the flowers and mist, carry every blurred reflection, carry every quiet smile. Leave the garden standing softly, leave the fountains resting gently, leave the terraces breathing slowly toward another bright dawn. The final finch leaves the sky, moonlight settles on the roses, only the petals remain drifting beneath the hollow comet. Soft light floating over still water, long reeds bending with morning air. White mist hiding the shoreline, herons gliding above the channels. The marsh breathes before sunrise, narrow planks crossing quiet pools, round nets drying on poles, clay lamps resting by baskets, thin ropes touching the dock. A fisher folds the nets carefully, travelers stand beside the reeds. Someone watches the current, nobody interrupts the calm. Stay beside these waters, forget the distant markets. The world feels softer near mist and reeds. Golden reed towers rise from wetlands, cool wind moves across channels. Wild lilies rest by banks, cloud shadows drift slowly. One travel sketches the marsh patiently, one child follows dragonflies. Somebody sits near the jetty, watching ripples spread outward. Silver reflections cover the pools, low whistles pass through grasses. Everything feels hidden here, everything feels quietly warm. Tiny fish cross the shallows, blue petals float by roots. Even distant sounds linger longer across the sleeping marsh. Shells near planks, lanterns beside boats, leaves on water, mist over reeds. Cook warms fresh bread. Green bowls line the shelf. Light fabric moves softly. Herbs dry nearby. One musician tunes a flute. One elder watches the birds. Someone writes short lines near the wooden pier. Above the wetland, the sky turns pale gold. Walk through quiet marsh weather. Move beside resting towers. Some places hide wonder. Inside water and silence. Wet earth and cedar scent. Golden reflections across pools. Everything turns cinematic inside marsh mornings. Maybe water protects memories. Maybe reeds keep whispers. Maybe people become lighter, far from crowded roads. Every channel keeps echoes. Every dog keeps journeys. Some visitors seek distance. Some seek peace. Still the current keeps flowing. Still the reeds keep swaying. Soft light leaves the channels. Bird calls fade near water. Blue shade reaches the pool. Stars appear above reeds. The boats become still. The pathways lose their glow. Day leaves the marsh toward the open plain. Carry these quiet hours carefully. Carry the mist and water. Carry every blurred reflection. Carry every calm memory. Leave the tower standing softly. Leave the marsh resting gently. Leave the wetland breathing slowly toward another silver dawn. The final heron leaves the sky. Moonlight settles on the pools. Only the reeds remain moving beside the moon marsh. Frozen light spreading across blue ice. Tall ridges holding pale clouds. Snow dust lifting with the breeze. Ravens crossing the wide horizon. The glacier wakes beneath silence. Crystal walls beside narrow paths. Wood markers standing in snow. Rope lines crossing the ridge. Small shelters facing the plain. An explorer tightens the straps carefully. Visitors gather near the ledge. Someone studies the frozen river. Nobody breaks the quiet. Stay among these heights. Forget the distant forests. The world feels brighter near ice and sky. Ivory wind harps stand on cliffs. Thin mist moves through crevices. Snow lines cover the slopes. Cold light touches the peaks. One traveler paints the horizon patiently. One child follows drifting flakes. Some cross beside roads, lanterns near shelters, tracks on snow, mist above ice. A cook warms fresh soup, steel cups line the table, thick blankets rest nearby, soft light fills the tent. One musician tunes a flute, one elder studies the sky. Someone writes small notes near the glacier edge. Above the ice field, the clouds turn silver. Walk through quiet winter weather, move beside resting ridges. Some places hide wonder inside snow and light. Cold air and cedar smoke, silver reflections across ice. Everything turns cinematic inside. Glacier mornings, maybe ice preserves silence, maybe mountains keep balance, maybe people hear themselves far from crowded valleys. Every ridge keeps echoes, every path keeps footprints. Some visitors seek distance, some seek calm. Still the snow keeps falling, still the wind keeps singing. Golden light leaves the ice field, bird calls fade near cliffs. Blue shade covers the snow, stars appear above the peaks. The shelters become quieter, the pathways lose their glow. Day leaves the glacier toward the northern sky. Carry these frozen hours carefully, carry the wind and frost, carry every blurred reflection, carry every quiet traveler sketches the towers patiently. One child counts the bells. Somebody rests near the brook, watching ripples pass slowly. Golden reflections move through water. Low breezes cross the valley. Everything feels gentle here. Everything feels quietly awake. Small ferns grow by stones. White petals rest on paths. Even distant sounds arrive softly across the green meadow. Pebbles near water, lanterns beside fences, leaves under benches, mist above fields. A baker cools fresh loaves, blue bowls line the shelf. Cotton cloth moves lightly, warm tea waits nearby. One musician tunes a violin, one elder studies the hills. Someone writes short verses near the bell tower above the valley. The sky turns light amber. Walk through quiet meadow, weather move beside resting towers. Some places hide wonder inside calm and distance. Fresh grass and cedar send silver reflections cross streams. Everything turns cinematic inside valley mornings. Maybe bells keep memories. Maybe valleys protect peace. Maybe people breathe easier far from crowded places. Every tower keeps echoes. Every trail keeps journeys. Some visitors seek beauty, some secrets. Still the grass keeps moving. Still the sky keeps widening. Soft light leaves the meadow. Bird calls fade near pines. Blue shade reaches the brook. Stars appear above the hills. The pathways become quieter. The towers lose their glow. Day leads the valley toward the distant ridge. Carry these gentle hours carefully. Carry the mist and fields. Carry every blurred reflection. Carry every calm memory. Leave the arches standing softly. Leave the bells resting gently. Leave the valley breathing slowly toward another bright dawn. The final swallow leaves the sky. Moonlight settles on the meadow. Only the silent bells remain beneath the cerealine.